The convertible limousine, the Texas School Book Depository, the 6th floor, the triple underpass, Parkland Memorial Hospital, Trauma Room 1. It was the day that baby boomers lost their innocence, the day that shocked America, the day that changed United States history. John Fitzgerald Jack Kennedy was born on May 29, 1917 in Brookline, Massachusetts. Kennedy was elected as the 35th President of the United States in 1961. President Kennedy is often referred to as JFK. After serving in the Senate, JFK went on to serve in the Oval Office. During his time as president, JFK took the U.S. economy out of recession from his reforms, established the Peace Corps, averted nuclear wars, launched a rocket to the moon, and had many more accomplishments. The day everyone remembers during his presidency, however, is Friday, November 22, 1963, the day President Kennedy was assassinated. President Kennedy was planning to run for another term in the office. It was time to start campaigning, and it was extremely important for Kennedy to win both Texas and Florida to get more electoral votes and have a chance at winning the election. He had decided to use a motorcade as a part of his campaign trail and a way to bring the Democratic Party together. Upon arrival in Dallas, huge crowds of people stood cheering and screaming. Everyone was extremely excited to see JFK and his wife. President Kennedy, along with his wife Jacqueline, got into a navy blue, open-top, 1961 Lincoln Continental four-door convertible limousine. President Kennedy and his wife were waving to the crowds of people. The limousine turned off Main Street at Dealey Plaza when at 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 miles into the route, President Kennedy was shot directly in the head. Horror struck. Screams of terror could be heard from miles away. Jacqueline Kennedy went into shock and tried to flee by climbing onto the back of the limousine. A member of the Secret Service hoisted himself into the car, and they sped through the triple underpass to Parkland Memorial Hospital. Jacqueline did what she could to hold her husband's head together. It was a very morbid and traumatizing scene for everyone who was there. People fled the scene as well because they believed it was a mass shooting. Upon arrival in the hospital, Kennedy was rushed to Trauma Room 1 by Dr. Kenneth Slayer and his team. Very little could be done to help the president. His condition was critical and his head was in pieces. News of the shooting spread very quickly, and this was the first time mass media played a major role in a big event. At 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, just 30 minutes after the shooting, President Kennedy was pronounced dead. Thousands of people heard the news while watching the television. Television stations had to slow down to make sure they were getting the right news to tell people. The assassination came to a huge shock not only to television networks, but also the American people. Kennedy's body was placed onto Air Force One. Before the plane took off, Lyndon B. Johnson stood in the extremely crowded Air Force One and took the oath of the Oval Office at 2:38 p.m., just 2 hours and 8 minutes after JFK had been shot. White House workers were already taking President Kennedy's belongings out of the Oval Office and moving Johnson's in. This is only the beginning of the story. Less than an hour earlier, Lee Harvey Oswald was taken into custody by the police. He was the main suspect in the assassination of Kennedy, as well as the fatal shooting of J.D. Tippit on a Dallas street. On Sunday, November 24, 1963, Lee Harvey Oswald was scheduled to be transported from the police headquarters to the county jail. At 11:21 a.m., Americans all around the country watched as live television cameras covered his transfer to the Dallas County Jail. Suddenly, a man by the name of Jack Ruby aimed a pistol and shot Oswald at a point-blank range in the basement of the Dallas Police Headquarters. Oswald was rushed to the Parkland Memorial Hospital, where he died 2 hours after getting shot. He was pronounced dead the same day of JFK's funeral, and tons of Americans saw the shooting happen on live television. This made the case of JFK getting assassinated much more difficult. Oswald was never given a fair trial and was never found guilty. This left lots of room for conspiracy theories, unanswered questions, and a lot of doubt in the government system. People today still believe the government may have set up the assassination, the CIA tampered evidence, or the government is keeping secrets from the American people. 54 years later, and the mystery of the assassination of President John F. Kennedy remains unsolved.